Tonight, the death toll climbs in the massive earthquake in Southeast Asia. Crews working around the clock trying to save anyone trapped under the rubble. Here at home, a plane crashes into a Minneapolis suburb, the late-breaking details. And more than 75 million Americans are on alert for a major cross-country storm sweeping east. First, rescue teams are heading to Southeast Asia to help in those desperate efforts. A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake sending tall buildings crashing to the ground. A skyscraper under construction in Thailand, more than 80 workers believed trapped inside. Anguished family members waiting for word at the scene. Civil war-torn Myanmar, the site of the epicenter, the country's military rulers with a rare appeal for help, saying more than 1,600 people have died, and that is certain to rise. Our Britt Clennett from Bangkok. A home engulfed in flames. A small plane crashes into a residential neighborhood outside Minneapolis. What we're learning. The global day of peaceful protest against Elon Musk and Tesla. Demonstrators voicing their anger against the world's richest man. The dangerous new cross-country storm. More than 75 million Americans on alert as crews race to get the upper hand on wildfires in the Carolinas. Faith Abube from South Carolina. And our weather team timing out the forecast. The sudden resignation of the FDA's lead vaccine official, his scathing rebuke of HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., and the national response to the measles outbreak. The new response from Denmark tonight. Greenlanders react to Vice President Vance's brief visit and President Trump's calls to annex the island. Terry Moran from Greenland. An American woman held since last month is released by the Taliban. The details just coming in. The new close call at Washington's Reagan National Airport, a Delta passenger plane and a military jet coming within hundreds of feet of each other. And America Strong, the quick-thinking hero teenager who jumped into action to save a family.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Mary Bruce, in for Whit Johnson. There are several developing stories as we come on the air tonight, but we begin with the desperate search for survivors after that 7.7 earthquake in Southeast Asia. The death toll now soaring above 1,600, with more than 3,000 injured in Myanmar. The dramatic rescue of this woman shown on Myanmar's military state-run media. And these images of survivors using their bare hands to free those trapped underneath mounds of debris. One hospital forced to treat dozens of patients outside because the building is so severely damaged, and anxious families awaiting news about their missing loved ones on the site of a collapsed building in Bangkok. Tonight, dozens remain missing. The quake, one of the worst to hit Southeast Asia in 100 years. ABC's Britt Clennett leads us off tonight from Bangkok.
Tonight, rescue efforts desperately underway in Myanmar and Thailand after that devastating earthquake in Southeast Asia. Myanmar's military junta now allowing hundreds of aid workers to enter the war-torn country. Over 1,600 people there are dead, 3,000 injured. Those numbers likely to continue rising. Rescue workers using jackhammers, mallets to break up and remove rubble as they work to find any survivors. Some digging with their bare hands. And a brief moment of joy, this woman saved from her collapsed home. Dozens of patients seen being treated outside of this hospital after it too was damaged. But obstacles remain. Some of Myanmar's airports damaged by the quake, currently unusable by aircraft, impeding relief efforts for a country embroiled in a civil war for years. That 7.7 earthquake was the worst in the region in the last 100 years. Its tremors and aftershocks felt throughout Southeast Asia. Here in Bangkok, Thailand, over 600 miles away from the epicenter, 80 people still missing, with rescue efforts underway after this building under construction collapsed. 9 people there confirmed dead.
Rescuers here are working all through the night using heavy machinery to lift large pieces of debris in the hope of finding any survivors.
Chanasorn Siranin's sister, an electrical engineer, is one of the missing. She had only started working at the site 2 weeks ago.
So these are all the missed calls?
His numerous calls to her phone going unanswered. China, Russia and India say their response teams are now arriving in Myanmar. A U.S. military team seen assessing the damage in Bangkok.
Honestly, we're just trying to get a handle on what's going on right now.
On Friday, President Trump indicated that the U.S. had been in touch with officials in Myanmar and that they would be helping. Later that same day, the State Department not indicating when that help would arrive.
What I can tell you is that we wait for formal requests. We are ready. Obviously, we are watching what is transpiring.
And Britt joins us now from Bangkok. And Britt, rescue workers are now racing against the clock.
Well, as you can see, Mary, it is a challenging task to work through this massive mound of rubble, but the critical window to finding survivors is closing. Meanwhile, in Myanmar, where more than 1,600 people are confirmed dead, a UN official says the junta is continuing to bomb parts of the country, adding to the complications facing rescue and aid efforts. Mary?
Such difficult circumstances. Britt, thank you. Back here in the U.S. into the breaking news, a plane crashing into a home in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, and bursting into flames. A trail of black smoke hovering in the sky. That plane departing from Iowa, heading to Minneapolis. The new details just coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Perry Russom.
Tonight, terrifying video showing the aftermath of a small plane crashing into a home in Minnesota.
Looks like a plane crash in Brooklyn Park.
The FAA says a Socata TBM 700 crashed this afternoon in Brooklyn Park.
10 minutes ago, this house was still there.
Dale recording this video.
It was insane how bad that burning was.
Firefighters racing to the scene, the house consumed by flames, with black smoke rising into the sky. The FAA says the single-engine plane took off from Des Moines International Airport in Iowa, headed to Anoka County Blaine Airport in Minneapolis, before crashing about 7 miles from the airport. It's the latest small or mid-sized plane crash in the U.S. so far this year. Earlier this month in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a plane crashing near the airport there, injuring 5 people on board. Back in Minnesota, it's not clear at the moment how many people were on the plane or if anyone was inside the home.
That could have been me. That could have been the house I was in.
Mary, both the FAA and NTSB are investigating. Even with the recent crashes we are seeing, experts still say flying is the safest way to travel in the U.S. Mary?
Perry Russom with the late-breaking details. Turning now to global protests targeting Tesla. Demonstrators gathering around the world and from coast to coast in the U.S. for so-called Tesla takedowns, outraged by Elon Musk and Doge's massive cuts to the federal workforce. It comes as the electric car maker is facing acts of vandalism and other crimes. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, from New York to Washington, to Los Angeles, to San Francisco, and even abroad, Tesla Takedown, a global day of peaceful action demanding an end to Elon Musk's influence over Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, and its sweeping federal cuts.
We're going to put pressure on the administration, but also on Congress to stand up to him.
Organizers claim Musk's Tesla fortune helped him secure a role in the Trump administration, overseeing Doge and slashing government funding.
We don't think that Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, should be in charge of doing things like that.
Protesters are urging boycotts, calling on Tesla owners to sell their EVs and dump their stocks. While today's protests remain peaceful, recent weeks have been anything but. The FBI launching a task force in response to earlier attacks, including incendiary devices found at a Tesla dealership in Austin, Texas. And in New York, investigators looking for 2 people who they say carved the word Nazis and a swastika into a Cybertruck. Musk on Fox News warning the Trump administration is preparing to act.
And we're going to go after them. And the president's made it clear we're going to go after them.
And Musk says Tesla's vehicle cameras are now rolling, and President Trump is warning that vandals could face up to 20 years, possibly in an El Salvadorian prison. Mary?
The president promising those harsh consequences. Morgan, thank you. Next here tonight, more than 75 million Americans are bracing for a severe weather outbreak into Sunday. This new threat comes as dangerous flash flooding slams parts of the Gulf Coast. Cars in South Texas submerged by floodwaters. So let's get right to our meteorologist, Dani Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. And Dani, this flood threat is far from over.
Yeah, relentless, heavy rain, Mary, along the Gulf Coast, and the threat not over yet, with a flood watch from southeast Louisiana into Gulfport, Mississippi, continuing tonight. Then a separate system brings a severe threat starting tonight in the southern plains before shifting to the south and Midwest tomorrow, becoming more significant and more widespread. We're tracking multiple rounds of strong to severe storms Sunday in cities like Memphis, Louisville, and Indianapolis, with the second half of the day bringing serious concern for damaging wind, hail, and strong tornadoes. By Monday, this system impacts the southeast up the I-95 corridor. Severe storms are possible, but the rain itself is a relief, considering the dry, warm, and very windy start to the weekend, elevating fire danger. Mary?
The weather whiplash continues, Dani. Thank you. Those conditions, as you mentioned, are fueling a raging wildfire in South Carolina. The so-called Table Rock fire is at zero containment, scorching more than 10,000 acres and crossing into North Carolina. The flames may have been caused by negligent hikers. ABC's Faith Abube is back on the scene again tonight.
Tonight, firefighters in South Carolina racing to get the upper hand against the raging Table Rock fire, still 0% contained.
It has crossed the line into North Carolina.
The blaze fueled by dry and gusty winds exploding to over 10,900 acres in the last week. Nearly 1,400 homes under evacuation orders. Crews carrying out the largest airdrops in state history.
In this area, the fire ran up the ravine, jumped across this road, and burned several more acres.
Fire officials suspect this fire was sparked by negligent hikers.
What penalties are they facing?
They could be charged with starting the fire. They could be charged with allowing fire to spread to others' lands.
Firefighters are hoping to get a break with the storm moving in tomorrow.
And officials say unless it's a significant storm, tomorrow's forecasted rain won't put out the fires, but it'll be a good step in the right direction. Mary?
The weather hopefully bringing a bit of relief, Faith. Thank you. We turn now to the resignation of the nation's top vaccine official, Peter Marks, penning a scathing letter with sharp words for Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime vaccine skeptic. All this coming as the country faces a measles outbreak in 20 states. ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting from the White House tonight.
Tonight, the sudden resignation of the Food and Drug Administration's top vaccine official, sending shockwaves through the Department of Health and Human Services, now run by longtime vaccine skeptic Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Dr. Peter Marks, who worked at the FDA for more than a decade and played a critical role in the development of vaccines to combat COVID-19 during the first Trump administration, penning this scathing resignation letter obtained by ABC News, writing, "It has become clear that truth and transparency are not desired by the Secretary, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies." In his contentious confirmation battle, Kennedy offering these reassurances to senators on the fence.
News reports have claimed that I'm anti-vaccine or anti-industry. I am neither. I am pro-safety.
Now, an HHS official telling ABC News that if Marks, a longtime health official, does not want to get behind restoring science to its golden standard and promoting radical transparency, then he has no place at the FDA. And tonight, with more than 480 confirmed measles cases nationwide, mainly in unvaccinated children, Marks warning of an unprecedented assault on scientific truth. Kennedy, meanwhile, poised to make more significant cuts at HHS, with thousands of employees now bracing for layoffs.
I want to promise you now that we're going to do more with less.
Those additional cuts coming. And Jay, of course, you also cover Capitol Hill for us. And tonight you have reaction to Dr. Marks' resignation from a key Republican senator.
That's right, Mary. Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, a former physician who voted yes on Kennedy's nomination after publicly wrestling with his past vaccine comments, posted today that Marks's departure was a loss for the FDA, and he urged Kennedy to replace him with someone of, quote, similar stature who will lead without bias. Mary.
Jay, thank you. Now to Vice President J.D. Vance's controversial mission to Greenland. Vance telling Greenlanders that they'd be better off and safer being part of the U.S. ABC senior national correspondent Terry Moran in Greenland tonight. And Terry, the vice president received a chilly reception.
Mary, Vice President Vance was only on the ground here in Greenland at that American base for a few hours, but he had an impact. Greenland is a part of Denmark, a close U.S. ally, and the Danish foreign minister blasted Vance for the tone he took here, saying this is not how you speak to your close allies. But Greenlanders were listening. They're still in shock over the aggressiveness of President Trump's efforts to get control of Greenland, quote, one way or the other. So Vance tried to calm the waters here. He pledged that Greenlanders will have the self-determination to choose whether they want to become part of the United States or not. And he also said, quote, we do not think that military force will ever be necessary. President Trump hasn't said those things. Most people here see Vance's trip as part of Trump's long-term strategy, and they don't want to alienate the U.S. One thing you'll hear a lot, people will say, we want a closer relationship with the United States, but we don't want to become Americans. Mary?
We shall see. Terry Moran from Greenland tonight. Thank you. An American woman detained by the Taliban in Afghanistan since February has been released. Faye Hall, seen here, was accused of using a drone without authorization. The former U.S. ambassador for Afghanistan announcing the news. Hall thanked President Trump for her freedom and for his leadership. And there is still much more ahead this Saturday. In case you missed it, the spectacular images of the partial solar eclipse. A deadly mass shooting at a packed house party in Washington state. 2 teenagers are killed. And the new close call at Reagan National Airport, a passenger plane and a military jet. Next tonight, an active investigation into the shooting deaths of 2 teenagers at a house party in Washington state. Shots rang out overnight in the Tacoma area, sending a panicked crowd of young people scrambling for safety and rushing into the street. 2 teenage boys died from their injuries. 4 others remain at the hospital. Police taking 1 person into custody. And there's been another close call near Reagan National Airport. The FAA says a Delta flight was taking off yesterday when an incoming U.S. Air Force jet flew by, narrowly avoiding a collision. Alarms sounded in the cockpit of that Delta plane, alerting the pilots.
Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of DCA? That's fine, I need to be affirmative. Okay.
Affirmative there. The FAA is now requiring all aircraft flying near the airport to broadcast their positions to air traffic control. This close call coming 2 months after the deadly mid-air crash over the same airport. And when we come back, the Women's Elite 8 is almost set. Who's still dancing in the madness of March? To the index now, the doctor accused of trying to kill his wife in Hawaii could soon face a restraining order. His wife making the request, saying she fears for her safety if Gerhard Koenig is released from custody. The filing also claiming Koenig accused her of having an affair last year and soon became jealous and controlling. People across the northern hemisphere witnessed quite a show earlier today. A partial solar eclipse was visible this morning across 13 states, Canada, and parts of Europe and Asia. Many residents getting up early to see the moon partially block the sun. It may not be last year's full eclipse, but it was still very impressive. And now to March Madness with all eyes on the women's Sweet 16. TCU upsets Notre Dame in an electrifying finish. The school now heading to their first ever Elite 8. And the Texas Longhorns punching their ticket to the next round after a nail-biting fourth quarter against Tennessee. Tonight, it's UConn versus Oklahoma, and USC takes on Kansas State. You can catch all the action on ESPN. And when we come back, a young hero springs into action as smoke and flames erupt in a neighbor's home. Finally tonight, America Strong. Bravery in the face of flames. Heroes are hard to come by, but on this Cleveland street yesterday, firefighters arrived to find an unlikely one already in action. 16-year-old Tyler Soden was watching videos in his room when he heard a boy calling for help.
I see him on the roof, and I see the house on fire. I see all smoke in the air.
The house engulfed in flames. That screaming boy, his mom, and a baby huddling on the roof. The fire trucks yet to arrive. Tyler then springing into action, grabbing a 40-foot ladder from his family's garage and rushing to the scene.
I feel bad for the babies. I'm not going to leave them.
Tyler carrying the baby down the ladder to safety, the others following behind.
For that young man to come and do what he did was outstanding.
I was thinking about what could happen if I didn't help.
Tyler's stepdad, Matt, overcome by Tyler's heroism.
I'm so proud of this kid, man. He put their lives before his own.
But Tyler says he sees nothing exceptional in what he did.
Shouldn't be very surprising that someone was just nearby and ready to help. I was there at the right time, so I could be a little hero. Just without a cape.
Tyler proving not all heroes wear those capes. I'm Mary Bruce in New York. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America.
More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast.